Another election edition. YATR today. Let's open up a new bottle. Deanston Virgin Oak. Doesn't smell like virgins. Doesn't smell like oak. Wow. Doesn't taste like virgins or oak either. It's good that we're drinking a virgin oak though today, because the topic I'm covering today, this will be the only virgin thing here. You want to cover your virgin ears. You know what? It kind of smells like a tropical day in Cuba. Wonder if there's anybody in this federal election with any ties to Cuba. Friends, family, brothers, sisters, fellow Canadians, Markus Harvey here, 69 steps in front of the St. John River, the Woolastook, if you care to call it that. Welcome to another episode of YATR, the Don't Vote for Trudeau edition. Before we get into the meat of everything here, I'd just like to welcome everyone, and if you'd care to leave a comment below, and please like and subscribe. We'll continue with this content. We'll continue having the conversations that matter to you. Why is Trudeau calling an election? Well, let me tell you something about that little he was supposed to be the Prime Minister until 2023, but a little while ago, a month or so ago, he looked at the polls, and the polls said, hey, Justin, if you hold an election right now, you can win the Prime Minister again and have a full majority government. So what did he do? What did that smarmy little world-traveling, wannabe, narcissistic, dictator, mother son of a turd guzzler do? He called an election. Now, on a side note, I'd just like to talk to all you people who are protesting right now. We got a bit of an issue here. Protesting Trudeau? Absolutely. But let's do it respectfully and without throwing stuff at him. If you want to throw something, throw your vote to one of the other parties other than Liberal and get him out of there. And as for you science neglecting, health people ignoring, knuckle-dragging Neanderthal who are protesting at hospitals while workers are trying to get in and out, you're not helping. Do you have a credit card, debit card, cell phone, social insurance number, air miles card, anything like that? They're already tracking you. So don't worry about it. The vaccine's okay. The earth is a sphere. Put on a mask if they ask you to. But don't be going to hospitals and protesting because you're just an asshole. Seriously, cut it out. Because every time you throw rocks at Justin, you spit at Justin, he just goes on TV and cries the poor little baby that he is, and his poll numbers go up. It's not helping. Just vote for somebody other than Liberal. Okay, so the topic today, enough of this getting wound up already. Holy. Today I'm here to talk about the carbon tax. Reasons not to vote Liberal, the carbon tax. Now, believe me, when it comes to climate change, I understand what the issue is, and I believe in climate change. Listen, when you're up to your neck in your own shit in your basement because you've been through two of the most epic floods of all time due to climate change, it makes a believer of you. If you folks remember from the last election cycle, I was up in Toronto on the news grilling the Conservative leader at the time about climate change and if he understood the gravity of climate change. Because yes, once again, I've lived through it. And so have a lot of people. Look at the fires that are going on right now, the great floods that are down in the States, Australia burning just before COVID. Climate change exists. But the way to tackle it is not carbon tax. And let me give you an example why, and let me give you my reasons why. And before I go any further, if you look in the description here on the YouTube video, I will supply you with link after link after link, providing the factual evidence for everything that I'm giving you today, so that you can travel down that rabbit hole if you want, but don't be coming on and leaving any comments, and none of you green people and none of you tree huggers and none of you woke snowflakes come on here and chirp me for what I'm about to tell you, because what I am about to tell you is factual. So, the carbon tax. Trudeau loves the spotlight. He loves going over to G7 and G20 conferences and having his face on the TV and quaffing his hair and helping everybody else but Canadians, and, you know, dedicating Canada to substantial climate change fighting. So what he's decided to do is bring in a carbon tax. Now, I'm not going to go crazy with the carbon tax here and explaining it, but the black and white of it is this. The carbon tax was brought in to to force us into using less carbon and greenhouse emitting gas products and services. So today, I'm going to do a little comparison between Canada and China, just to give you an example as to why carbon taxing Canadians to death is not the answer, and it is the most ineffective globally offered solution to climate change. It just doesn't work. So let's take a look at Canada here. I've made a little chart for you. Okay, so in Canada, as I said, Canadians are charged a carbon tax in an attempt to force us into using less carbon greenhouse gas emitting products and services. So we're paying a carbon tax. Just a quick example for you, like if you're going to the gas station for the rest of Canada, I think right now it's like close to 9 cents per liter that you're paying for gas is carbon tax. That's going up to something ridiculous like 30 cents per liter by 2025 or something like that. Don't know the full numbers on that. Look it up, but it's ridiculous. So in Canada, we are charged a carbon tax. In China, the people of China do not pay a carbon tax. So let's get into this a little further. The reason why we are charged a carbon tax is to encourage us to pollute less by investing and using cleaner technologies like electric cars. Guess how they're run? Lithium-ion batteries. Let's take a look over in China. Guess what? China produces over 70% of electric car batteries. 70% of all the car batteries, electric car batteries in the world. Do you know what a Tesla is without its lithium-ion electric car battery? It's a boat anchor. But hey, let's charge people carbon tax so they continue to buy the electric cars. Or even better, how about we get you to buy some solar panels for your house? Because we're charging you carbon tax on your electricity. Solar power, let's take a look. Oh, look at that. China produces 60% of all the solar power panels on planet Earth. But hey, maybe solar power is not for you. I'm full of hot air. I'm just a guy sitting in front of a wood pile wheezing. I should maybe look into wind power, but hey, oh, hold on. Yeah, 7 out of 10 of the top wind turbine manufacturers on planet Earth are from ding, 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 China. Let's have a little sip here. Now, to pull this all together and give you, I'm not picking on China. Good for them, because they're laughing their way all the way to the bank at Trudeau and his carbon tax on us and everybody trying to be green little hippies over here. Now, before I go any further, though, I must digress. Like I said, I understand climate change. I've been a victim of climate change. There has to be an answer, but the carbon tax isn't it. So anyway, Canadians. Let's take a look at Canadians and how much we contribute to the greenhouse gases, carbon emissions. So on planet Earth, 90% of all the greenhouse gases and carbon emissions are caused by fossil fuels. In Canada, we contribute 1.6% of those nasty gases every year. Some of us more than others, especially if I've had beans for lunch. Now, in Canada, you have to kind of break that down because big business, big corporations, big manufacturing, they contribute half of that number. So as a tax-paying middle class, lower class Canadian citizen, we contribute 0.8% of the greenhouse gases into the air per year out of 100%. Canada. Citizens, Canadian citizens, 0.8%. China, who's supplying us with all those solar panels and electric car batteries and wind turbines so that we can go green, they produce 28% of the greenhouse gases per year on the planet. 28%. And how does China manufacture these things that they're selling to us so we can be green? They use the dirtiest fossil fuel there is, and that's coal. Coal-fired power plants. China has more coal-fired power plants than the entire planet combined. So to wrap this all up for you, you're being charged, as a Canadian, you're being charged a carbon tax. And before, listen, let's back this up real quick for a second. If you go on the government website, the carbon tax is supposed to be revenue neutral. So for math dummies like myself, let's just put it out this way. They're charging the carbon tax, and then you're supposed to get that back as a tax rebate on your income tax. Overall, in general, as a Canadian, you pay this carbon tax all year long, and then I think you get something back like $500 on your income tax for the first adult in the house, and then $200, then whatever. Regardless, it's not revenue neutral for someone like me. I don't know if I'm a good example, especially for the young children and the faint of heart, but let's say I get $500 back on my income tax. I don't, like I said, because I'm in New Brunswick and we're doing things a little different, but let's say I'm getting $500 back. If I'm driving for work, which I have to do, and I'm using 100 liters of gas per week to work, I live in rural Canada. I have to drive to work. I can't afford an electric car. Doesn't matter if I could because the battery in it's probably made in China anyway, but I digress. The carbon tax I'm paying alone just on fuel to work and pay $19,000 in income tax a year is more than enough to cover that rebate that I would be getting. So right there off the hop, this revenue neutral bullshit is a moot point. Maybe people living in the big cities who take subways or something, maybe they're making money on it. But as a rural Canadian, which is, a vast part of this country, we're getting screwed. Charging Canadians a carbon tax in order to get us to go be greener by purchasing these products from China is about the same as firefighters going to fight a fire and hooking their hoses up to a gas truck and firing gas on a fire. It does not make any sense at all. It is ineffective and it is harmful both to the economy of the middle and lower classes of this country and to the country as a whole. Now, I'm not saying I've got all the answers, but you know what? Maybe Trudeau could have, because hopefully he won't be in there this next election, but maybe he could have not spent $12 billion buying a pipeline to nowhere out west that's not going to go anywhere, and instead maybe told Quebec to get bent. Quebec, the largest benefactor of transfer payments in this country they get more than the entire rest of the country combined. But they didn't want to retrofit an existing pipeline going through Quebec to transport Canadian oil to the largest Canadian refinery in St. John. No, they didn't want that. I don't know. Montreal mayor did a lot of talking about that, maybe because there's oil tankers from Saudi Arabia and America coming into the port of Montreal and he's making some money. Don't know. Can't fact check that one. I'm just throwing it out there.
Pumping for oil? You're crazy, boy. There's no oil in this ground.
There's plenty of different ways that we could tackle this problem. But bottom line is, and the reason for the rant today, the reason for the yelling in the garage beside the river, is because the carbon tax is not doing a single thing except make China filthy rich. And they're laughing their way all the way to the bank with Trudeau and his carbon tax. Period. So, my friends, in closing, I guess the point I'm trying to make is don't vote Liberal. Now, in the Fredericton area, that one's pretty easy. We had an MP. She went over to the Liberals. She betrayed our votes. Not a hard decision there not to vote Liberal. But for the rest of Canada, I hope you understand and took in what I was telling you today about carbon tax. If you want to vote for China, if you want to vote for Chinese economic growth, if you want to continue to have Chinese people coming over and buying up the real estate and driving rents up and housing prices up, vote Liberal, because the carbon tax is doing nothing to help the environment, but it is helping the economy of China. I'll leave it with you at that. Like I said, I don't know what the answers are. You know, continue to recycle your bottles, continue to turn the heat down when you're not at home, use the air conditioning less if you're not at home, shower with your significant other, or the entire family if you'll fit in there, to conserve water. Maybe get rid of, maybe the incoming government could look at putting more taxes or levies or getting rid of plastic bottles. The amount of plastic bottles, or those Keurig cups, holy jumpins, those things. Like, that's just unnecessary. Something like 50 billion plastic water bottles get thrown out on the planet a year. Go back to the good old days, glass, aluminum. You know, good old glass bottle, if you get into a tussle somewhere, you just smash it and you got yourself a good weapon. Anyway, don't do that. I'm kidding. I don't know what I'm doing here. The whiskey's tasting pretty decent, though. I'm thinking Aaron O'Toole's a good example and a good option for everyone to vote for. Let's get that dunderhead, idiot, narcissistic piece of Trudeau out of office, get some fiscal responsibility going, rework this carbon tax or get rid of it completely, start putting a little bit of money back into the pockets of Canadians and a little bit of hope instead of, pissing away millions every day of your tax dollars. With that, I shall bid you adieu. Thanks for stopping by YATR and our election episode. Like and subscribe, and we hope to see you again sometime. Don't be a fool. Vote for O'Toole. Or if you're in Fredericton, Andrea,